Hello, everyone. I'm Ryan. Welcome to. Is it a podcast with three of us? Or are we calling it? Because I don't know what he calls it anymore. Is he call it a talk, a podcast, a
We we have so many
gathering,
names for
a
things.
Sugoi gathering? That's it.
A Sugoi orgy.
And with me today, I have the mystical man of fire,
Hey.
and I also have Cillian with me.
Hello.
No Hunter or Troy or anyone. It's just us three to do review of Spring 2016. So, should we start with? We starting with one of the rollovers from last year.
Pretty much the only roll we're going to be starting with, and you're taking the floor on this one, basically.
Which is something I'm really excited to talk about. It's a good one to start with, and that's the second season of Assassination Classroom. Which,
I feel really bad no one can join you for this discussion.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I could probably go on for about 10 minutes, including adding in the part that it's only the second anime to ever make me cry. You know, the other one was Clanad, but it's just kind of got that, especially from the first season, kind of develops the characters, allows you to know the characters, and then the second season adapts upon it and does something that doesn't happen too often in anime anymore, and basically just completes the story. Because unfortunately, we live in the realm where a certain studio like to do one season and then tell you to go read the manga, which is extremely annoying. But with this, they kind of adapt the really good ending of the manga, and I kind of think I was really worried when I was coming to it. I was thinking they're gonna fuck this up. They're gonna fuck this up. I don't want to see them fuck up one of the best things I've seen, and they did it excellently. And I know that comedy isn't really what everyone's into, but people should really go and watch both seasons. It's thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah. I haven't started the first season yet, but now that the second season is out and done, I am very excited to give this a shot. Because...
I mean, don't watch all 50 in a row. Especially get some sleep. Unless sleep. No, actually, no. Sleep is for the weak.
No, I can't do that shit. I've only ever done one time have I done like a 20+ marathon before. That ain't happening ever again.
Yeah. I mean, summer vacation is starting for me, so 50 in a row is not unthinkable.
Fair enough, yeah. But yeah, I've heard pretty much almost exclusively positive things about this, even from like when I'm not even like in the anime sphere online, like just other videos and stuff. People that I didn't know were anime fans have mentioned really liking this. So,
well, it kind of manages to get a lot of comedy elements, but it's really serious when it needs to be. Like, I've not seen something that manages to switch between the two so quickly and do it flawlessly.
I'm more curious to see how it develops an entire class full of characters.
Well, I mean, a problem is that you're not going to get, because it's a class of, I think, because in last season they do a roll call, and I think it's 27 students, might be 28. So it's not like you're going to have every single one of them developed perfectly, exactly how you want, and some people are going to like some characters that aren't developed as well, but there is at least some point in both seasons where at least one of the characters is put in a forefront where, you get to see them as, what they want to do in life or what's best for them. And I kind of think that, especially considering there's a main character, obviously, but all of them get enough time for you to, develop a favorite character.
It has less characters, but 4 times the amount of airtime of another show that we'll be talking about later too. Yeah. So that's interesting. True. All right, but yeah, sounds like overall thumbs up.
Definitely.
All right. Well, that's pretty much the only rollover we have much to say on. So
fuck Dragon Ball Z Super. Sorry, I'm joking.
To get into the actual spring 2016 season, I guess I will be taking the floor now because I'm talking about Junisai, which probably yeah, thank you. Which probably no one ever in the world has seen. Basically, this anime was very interesting. First off, I had to wait forever to get subs. I was afraid that there wasn't gonna be subs at all, and I was just gonna have to not watch it. even though I was super excited for it because it looks adorable. If you've listened to our podcast enough, I am all about cutesy characters and all that jazz. So this was right up my alley, and I haven't finished it yet, but it's pretty good. It's interesting to see like a romantic story from characters so young as the mains taken seriously. Like, it has its cute and funny moments, but it doesn't look at like young love as a joke, which is really cool. It's still very, very like dreadfully shoujo though. So if someone's not into shoujo, stay the hell away from it because you're gonna have an awful time. But yeah, it was kind of it's very unique. It's a very unique romance story, and also the main characters, like the main relationship, starts significantly faster than basically any anime I've ever seen.
Is it like second episode where it starts to get developed so quickly, or?
It's before the second episode.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. It's basically about being in a 12-year-old relationship, not getting into one. So yeah, it's cool. I recommend it to people who can handle shoujo and are not going to have some sort of bias against kids because they hate kids.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna watch it from what you just said.
Yeah, thumbs up. Alright. Next, we got I guess technically the third season of Sailor Moon Crystal.
Well, there's really, really good thing about this before we mention is that when we watched the first, technically 2 seasons, even though it was pretty much one, they aired it every 2 weeks, so, it took a year to actually get out, which worked worked against it so badly because you were waiting for so long for an episode. But this dissolved that.
Yeah, it was. I'm very glad they went back to the just every week kind of format because having like 2 weeks in between just made it very easy to just kind of lose interest.
Yeah, and
again,
what happened
every time a new episode.
What happened last time? I don't remember. And then you end up missing that. If you ended up missing that, you missed it for 4 weeks. It's like, oh, I don't know what's going on. But
yeah.
Plus, they picked a good arc to go back to doing it weekly as well, because this is actually one of their best arcs from the original. And just a disclaimer, anyone, this is the only potential spoiler for this. The error that they have in the original in this arc is not there. Thank God. Because in the dub, they made a pretty terrible error in this arc in the original.
This is my, other than like the live action version, Pretty Garden Sailor Moon, whatever. This is the first time I'm actually watching the story of Sailor Moon, so I have really nothing to compare it to like that.
I mean, I've told you before about the error they've made, obviously, but
Oh yes.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying now. But yeah, coming from someone who really only knows about like kind of what Sailor Moon is, and I've seen a couple episodes of the original anime like when I was a tiny boy. I liked it a lot. I liked it better than the first. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I liked it better than the first 2 seasons of Sailor Moon Crystal. The animation was like way better. Holy shit, they improved a ton. I don't even think it's the same people animating it personally. But yeah, the animation was better. And music was still fine. Characters it also felt like it had more of the humor I associate with Sailor Moon.
Oh yeah,
like the first season really was never all that like funny. It didn't really have the characters interacting in the same kind of ways. Whereas this one, before the real shit kicks in, you actually see them kind of interacting more as a group of friends, which was kind of cool because that's one of the few things I knew of Sailor Moon before watching the first one, and it wasn't there. So
well, that's a problem with I think another thing with the first and second season is it is just getting you to know the characters, because obviously they can't just skip over all of that because they want to get new people into it. So the first 2 seasons are more focusing on getting to know the characters, albeit you'll forget what the characters are because they were airing it every 2 weeks like idiots. Whereas this one's just kind of getting like fully into the story elements and add a bit more comedy, and they do it really, really well. I hope it gets some, more adapted.
I hope so. The ending really makes me feel like it is going to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they would end it the way they did without knowing that there's going to be more. But yeah,
unless you M Night Shyamalan with Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live action film where he made an absolutely terrible film and then put one in at the end like, oh yeah, we're gonna get a sequel. No chance.
I haven't seen Airbender movie that by some people's standards doesn't exist, but yeah, maybe. I hope it does though. I really hope it does. And it's Sailor Moon. Like, maybe this isn't getting a lot of like views on English websites and stuff, but Sailor Moon fan base is huge. This is going to sell well, and I'm sure in Japan it's doing perfectly fine. So I would be a little surprised if we don't see a 4th season.
The next one, is it you talking about this? Because I haven't seen this.
I guess this is me. I'm going to be short probably with these next two, because I think these next two I've only seen.
And I don't have the next one after this, you should go on about it for a long time.
I have things. Well, first off, Onigiri. There's really not a lot of substance to it. The story is kind of like generic and illogical and weird, and the characters are not super duper like amazing. It's kind of like cutouts of cliches and other things. However, it had a really, really good grasp on its humor. I got a lot of genuine laughs from it. More so in the 3 minutes that it plays each episode than some of the full-length comedy series from this season. So I definitely am glad I watched it, and like would even be willing to watch it again at some point in the future just because it was really funny. But not for the story, because the story was bullcrap. And then after that, another short that was questionable at best, Panda Piece, whatever. I was so excited for this anime before it was out. Like, it's not about cooking per se, but it has a food premise, and I love cooking. I love food. I love all
Who
that
doesn't
stuff.
love food? That's the question, though. Who doesn't love food?
Fair point, yeah. And, you know, it had the cute girls thing going on, and I'm like, fuck yeah, this anime is made for me, but there's nothing to it. It's so
bad.
It's bare bones cute girls doing cute things with, again, just no substance to it whatsoever. Like, the characters are just so generic, and the last half of the anime is almost all completely about two characters fighting over the attention of the really cute lolly, like the lolly of the lollies, and shoving in her face how cute she is when she's really just kind of like whatever. They're all just big, chubby blobs of flesh that I didn't care at all about.
Dear. Well,
so
I was
very
tempted,
disappointing.
I was tempted to actually watch this just from. I remember we had this talk. We had talk about. I wanted to actually watch all of it just to see how bad it was. I saw like a little bit of the first episode. I was like, never mind.
It's not J.K. Meshi bad, which, you know, that's a totally different story.
Anime of the year.
But it was still bad.
Yeah. I guess I've got. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mention two actually here. I'm going to talk about Macross Delta and also a little bit of the Mobile Gundam suit that also aired, because that one's okay. They're both still currently airing. They're both going to roll into next season, but for people that aren't aware, you know, there's two. If you get past a few individual mecha series, the two generic ones that people go to are Macross and Gundam. On a general basis, I actually think Gundam is better, but this is kind of one instance where I actually think the current airing Macross Delta one is actually better than the Gundam one that's airing. I think that they're both very, very good in their actual mecha design elements and their actual fighting, which is something that I kind of think the actual whole mecha, genre was kind of going off a bit. It got really, really stale and boring, but both of these do very, very well. But I prefer the characters in Macross Delta, so I do think because mecha's not really what a lot of people are into. It's very, very hard to get into it as a genre because sometimes it's a bit overbloated, over the top, and a lot of the main characters are very, very carbon copied. But I do think this is probably something, if you've never actually watched a mecha before, you should check out one of these two.
I'll keep that in mind because, I mean, lots of people are into mecha, but it's one of those genres that, like, is very polarized by a lot of people. Like, when you talk about when you see people say, I can't stand these genres, mecha is often one of them.
But on the flip side, there's a lot of people that be like, I really, really like mecha's one of my. I am one of those people where I'm like, mecha's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very different.
So keep that in mind because I'm still pretty fresh to the genre. Like, side note, I'm currently in the middle of watching Gurren Lagann. I only have a few episodes left, but I'm still new to it. I'm warming up to it. I'd like to get into more, so I'll check these out at some point probably. All right, so Sancha Sanyo, back to more cute stuff.
Yeah, but this time, it's cute stuff with substance, not like with Panda Piece. You mentioned that it's just cute. It's actually like a really funny show. Totally caught me off guard. I thought it would be like a Moe Blob type show where I just sit down and watch it and let my brain melt. But no, it has some jokes. It has the characters to carry itself. I liked it.
Yeah, if I was to ever encounter someone who could question that, like, Moe slice of life anime in general, I would point them to this one because it handled especially its main main trio of characters. It handled them so surprisingly well. It gave them more character than most I've seen in this kind of genre of anime. Like, especially the main girl Yoko and Hayama, the blonde girl. I felt like I learned so much about them, and they developed into these interesting characters that I was genuinely like, man, I really like them a lot. And then as you said, really funny, really kind of interesting premise, like the whole rich girl being thrown into poverty or poor life thing. Like, it's not terribly original, but I think her attitude in the setting was what kind of made that original.
Yeah, usually when you do a story about a rich girl becoming poor, like was done in The World God Only Knows, the rich girl remains with her attitude, but not Yoko in this case, which was surprising.
She kind of embraces it and really quickly even, and just kind of goes along for the ride, finds her favorite poor life snack in bread crusts and mayonnaise, and gets all excited about sales at grocery stores and all that jazz. And then for me personally, I felt such a connection to Hayama because she has this unrivaled love of cats that I can't help but completely adore about her character. Yet she's also got this very cynical, dark, mean spirit to her as well at the same time, underlying it all. But definitely a very solid entry in that kind of anime, and sadly just did not get much attention. It's still, at least according to Mao's numbers, it's still on just over 20,000 lists. And I feel like it deserved way more attention than it got.
That happens a lot, though, sometimes. Things kind of fall. Especially with, again, that kind of... We were talking about how mechas are very polarized. It's the same for stuff like this as well. It can be very, very negatively... instantly negative from some people. Which, because it's not their type of thing, it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Alright, so I can't remember. Shonen Maid, am I the only one talking about this one as well? Or
Indeed.
I believe you are.
Okay, that's fine. I haven't finished this one. Only got a few episodes left of it. But way better than I expected it to be. I feel like there's a few people who kind of look at it, at least initially, when like the PVs and stuff were out and blah blah blah. It and the name, it kind of appeared to be almost this like borderline shonen ai sort of thing, and it's not at all. It's really no, not at all. It's really more of a like a family story, and like growing them like just growing bonds and growing up past like or what's the term coming of age sort of, I guess. And yeah, there's no really like romantic thing going on between the the main boy and any of the characters. It's just kind of heartwarming and cute and awesome, and I have almost nothing but positive things to say about it. Like, it's also really underappreciated too, basically just as much as Sancha Sanyo. I can't really say how confidently, like with any confidence, how good the finale is because I haven't watched it. But
imagine if the finale is utterly terrible. After all that.
9 episodes in, I cannot recommend it enough to almost anyone. Like, unless you just absolutely hate the slice of life genre, I say it's worth a watch, because it's labeled as a shoujo, but not really all that shoujo. It's pretty damn funny, and the characters are all pretty great, too. I get big, like, Oran Host Club vibes from it. For anyone that liked that anime, I think you would definitely want to check it out.
Okay, so
more cute.
This just seems like there's more cute stuff everywhere.
There was part of the reason why I love this season is because there was just so much stuff that was right up my alley.
There's a lot of stuff because there's quite a few of these that I do plan to watch, and one of them I actually do plan to watch is Anhape, just because of some of the stuff I've heard from it.
Yeah. Is this only me again?
Yep.
Yeah, I believe so.
That's fine.
Well, you are our regular,
Yeah, that's true.
Cutesy kind of talker.
This one, I didn't think it was quite as good as Sancha Sanyo, but it was still pretty enjoyable. The concept that they throw the characters in all being like really really unlucky and in this class about like trying to improve their luck, because this school has a class dedicated for that apparently. It was interesting to see how that played out and how they kind of became friends through their misfortunes, and has this like kind of this. I wish they explored it a little more than they did, but it sort of had this underlying tone of like maybe these characters' misfortunes aren't really actually misfortunes at all in a way, at least for a few of them. It's hard to say the girl who constantly gets hurt gains anything from that, but
strong bones.
Yeah, she's constantly like tripping and falling and getting tired and breaking every bone in her body.
Wow, that is unlucky.
But yeah, it's adorable. It's got a nice cast. It's got a very like really like especially colorful sort of like color palette to it. There was a couple moments where I felt it got a little bit fan servicey, but not too much. Not enough to really like turn me off of the series or anything. It was all fine, and I wouldn't recommend this as like as an anime to for the non-believers of the cute moe kind of anime to turn them kind of like it would potentially Sancha Sanyo. But it was if you're a fan of this kind of thing, it was a solid entry in it. It didn't do anything terribly amazing, but it also was not just the same generic cardboard cutout like a lot of them can be. So,
well, just before I mention the name of the next one, there's a question I want to ask you too, which is, what makes a horror story scary? Like, what do you think would actually make it scary?
The element of the unknown, maybe?
Yeah, kind of like, not just the element of the unknown, the atmosphere around it, everything that's
like,
kind of...
Like in Alien, you don't know where or yeah, you don't know where the alien is. So
Yeah,
that's scary.
Children's laughter coming down from a dark hallway. There you go.
yeah,
Bam.
that is pretty scary. That yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Terraformers Revenge doesn't have anything like that, and I kind of think that when the first season dropped and I watched the first season, it it did try to have a horror atmosphere, but it kind of failed quite badly, and it's currently tagged as a horror, but the second season basically has just turned into a shonen style anime, completely boring, no hint of horror anymore. The violence is kind of toned down, and it's a shame really because the first season started off at least attempting to be horror, because that genre, especially in not just in anime, in games, in movies, is kind of dying off a little, which is a shame. But the second season just kind of gave up on the whole concept of it, and I kind of think if you're selling yourself on being horror, follow it through to the end, even if it's not as good. At least you're still trying to make it kind of like that. The second season just kind of, just drastically went away from it. It's a shame, really, but it's just kind of the way horror's gone. It's just kind of more about action now instead of the whole atmosphere and the unknown, as Cillian put it. It's unfortunate, but it's not really that good, unfortunately.
That's a bummer.
Shame.
Alright. So, High School Fleet. Another, not really cutesy, but,
Isn't it tagged as military, if I remember correctly?
It is tagged as military.
It is
it's
quite
basically
military.
Girls in Panzer, but on battleships. More or less.
Battleships.
Yeah. I know you didn't finish it, but what did you think of what you saw, Cillian?
I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm. You have seen like Girls in Panzer before, right?
I have not seen Girls in Panzer.
Oh, okay. I was gonna see how you felt it compared, but yeah. I can't remember exactly how episode 4 goes, but
Episode 4 is the one where they run out of toilet paper.
Oh. Okay.
Wait, what?
There's an episode like that, yeah. We won't need to go too deep down into it, but that does bring me to like, how did you feel it mixed, at least from what you've seen so far, it mixed like the suspense and the slice of lifey sort of moments?
I felt it did a great job in mixing the suspense with the slice of life. Especially because at first, the thing that happens in the first episode, it's so out of the blue that I kind of didn't really even want to watch the second episode because I was afraid of where it was going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
But it does a great job with it brings a submarine, and I really like the fight they had with the submarine, and just in general, every single detail that they talk about with the boats, and when they talk about like the armor thickness and the guns that they have, I just love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I kept thinking while watching the show that if this was set in World War II and with like actual sailors instead of high school girls, it'd be so much better. But even so, if you like warships and just war stuff in general, I think you'll like the show.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's like Girls in Panzer fans, watch it because you're gonna fucking love it. I know I keep saying that, but it is really similar in that regard. I liked it more than Girls in Panzer though because I felt like the suspension of disbelief problem that I had with Girls in Panzer was a lot less here. There's still a lot of like, the enemies are basically staffed by stormtroopers and they can't hit for shit. Like there's a lot of that.
I mean,
kind of like the
ship battles are basically missing each other for like days, but yeah. The one thing that does like sort of make my suspension of disbelief go away is the fact that a high school girl is allowed to be a doctor on the ship.
Oh yeah. Her character gets really interesting later on. I'm not going to spoil it, but her character gets very interesting later on. Did you get introduced to the mice by episode 4?
By episode 4, they do get a mouse, and a crew member goes apeshit.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm a little sad that they didn't go deeper into where a lot of and again I'm gonna try to spoil it deeper into where a lot of the stuff with the mice and characters going a little bonkers and stuff. Like, they didn't delve quite as deep as I wanted, but they didn't just go on a surface level. They tried to, give it some thought, and there was also a little bit of, there was a couple, like, sort of fan service-ish moments later on. I mean, they're on a ship surrounded by water. In these kind of anime, you often have, like, a beach or swimsuit episode, so it's really easy for them to incorporate that into this anime.
There were a couple moments with some girls in swimsuits, yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily stop in the beginning. But yeah, I felt the balance of the slice of life and action suspense was good, and I felt that the finale of it was also really good. I really liked the way it ended, and even got me like a little more emotional than I expected to get to. Definitely a recommendation for people who are fine with the sort of theme in anime where you put young high school girls in a setting that is maybe not safe and not normal for high school girls to be in.
Or even if you like, as I've said, anime about warships, or just warships in general, it's good for that too, because it does go a little in depth.
Yeah, they seem to know what they're talking about with these ships, because they have all these like graphs and charts and all this info that they throw out that, granted, I'm not about to fact check to see if it's right, but I have no reason to believe it's wrong. So it seems like they know what they're talking about. It cares about the military and stats and specs of these ships that they're on. All right, so
I don't want to talk about this next one. I really don't. Do you know? There's some things in life that you just don't want to do, but you've just got to do them anyway, and that's talk about something like Endride. Do you know that? Right? Do you know that feeling you get when you're watching something, and very quickly you go, "This is gonna be shit." Like recently, I went to watch the Warcraft film with a friend of mine, thinking, "Oh, video game film. Let's hope this is good." 5 minutes in, I turned to him and went, "God, this is gonna suck." And that's the exact feeling I had when I started watching this. And I thought, I'll give it an extra try. I'll give it a couple more episodes. But then I found myself nearly falling into the trap of, well, we're already nearly that way through. I might as well finish it. So I had to drop it so quickly because, God, it's bad.
I only watched 2 episodes and I was done. I don't like to throw around the word generic very often because I feel like people throw it around a little too much. They just kind of like look at stuff on a surface level and go, "This is generic." But holy shit,
is it
this
generic?
was dreadfully generic. Like, nothing was special about this at all. It's another, trapped in an alternate fantasy world thing with another just kind of stereotypical, character with the spiky hair and, some girl with kind of slightly-ish revealing clothes that's supposed to be pretty and whatever, and another dude who's like, "Oh, I'm the badass," blah, blah, blah. It just, everything about this was so typical. And
there's a lot of anime out there where people will go, "Oh, this stereotypical character, cardboard cutout, stereotypical main, tsundere, stereotypical this." This is probably worse than anything I've ever seen for being generic, and that is saying something. Because, oh my lord, I can deal with genericness to an extent where it's generic, but it puts a slight little own spin on it. This is just carbon copy, insert this here, insert this here, insert this here. I'm thinking, how has this managed to get past production? The money spent for this could be spent to make something good. Like, we could get a second season of Air Gear for once. I mean, Jesus.
it was announced for 24 episodes before it even started, too. They must have had a lot of faith in this anime. I have no idea how well it's doing in Japan. But at least in the States and stuff, and, in the West countries, whatever, man, it's...
As far as everything I've seen, except for troll reviews, or, people going, oh, it's the best, it's a savior of anime, I've said it's awful, so... Honestly, they might as well just cancel it now and go, do you know what, let's save the money and go make something good.
Yeah, I would not be bothered at all if they cancel it, and I don't imagine many people would care.
No, I don't think anyone would care either, to be honest.
Yeah. Alright, so, kind of on a more positive note, again, I think I'm the only one talking about this one.
Well,
no, you watched,
I've seen some of it. I've got a general idea of the show.
Yeah, Uchu Patrol Luluko. What did you think of what you've seen so far?
I actually found myself laughing throughout it.
Yeah.
I very rarely... I have a very particular taste for comedy. I'm very,
British.
There's a lot of animes that... Yeah, I'm very British. Where's my tea? It's not anywhere in sight. But I have a very particular style of comedy that I like. And I don't badmouth things when it's not my style, but I only generally find myself laughing at certain things in anime. And honestly, I've only watched 5 episodes so far, but I was relatively chuckling throughout all 5. I don't know how it goes on after that, and you're probably better to say it than me because you've seen it all.
Yeah,
but...
it keeps its, it's a trigger anime, and it does not hide that fact. It has that, it has the sort of insane, off-the-wall, like, humor and moments, just like Kill la Kill. It gave me huge Kill la Kill vibes before, except I actually wanted and liked watching it. But
sorry, Kill la Kill fans.
I honestly, I'm just for me. I just really am not a big fan of Studio Trigger really often. Although this season both what?
They're very hit and miss Studio Trigger.
Yeah. But although this season both of the Trigger anime that I watched, I liked well enough. This one more than the other. The Trigger's style of humor I like, and when it has a show that it's not taking itself too seriously, I dig it. Luluko, I was on from the get-go. I had a lot of fun with it, and even when in the end it kind of had this, not like a serious conclusion, but like a relative. It tried to go for kind of like a slightly emotional ending to it, and it worked really well. I was blown away by how amazing the ending actually was for not being just the same sort of crazy off-the-wall stuff that it normally had. I mean, it still has that a little bit, but, there's actually, like, some moments of feels in the end of this, and I was impressed. I laughed and had a lot of fun watching it, and, it just, even though it's not as short as many shorts are, being, like, 3 and 5 minutes, this one was, like, I think basically 7 minutes long, per episode. It just goes to show that you can do a lot with a shorter anime as long as you know what you're doing and handle it with care.
Unlike something that's getting a sequel next season, which is my high school girlfriend's my wife's high school president,
Council
whatever it is, council president.
Yeah, that.
Which is also short, but isn't funny. This kind of at least even in 7 or 8 minutes, it manages to make you kind of interested in it and makes you chuckle, which, there's a lot of animes that go on for 20 minutes an episode and I don't laugh at. So, I think hats off to it.
Yeah. Would you say hats off to the next one?
Do I really need to talk about it? I don't even want to pronounce this. I can't even pronounce this title properly, which is probably good. Because it is awful. So bad.
It's like Seisen Cerberus or something.
And then, however you want to pronounce the rest of it. It's tagged as adventure and fantasy, but if you're into adventure, please avoid it. If you're into fantasy, please avoid it. It's, I've watched a lot of things that I don't like, but very, very rarely do I get angry at it. it's not even the word generic to describe this. It's just downright shit. It's not interesting. The characters are boring. The main character's terrible. The whole concept of it is, at first you think, oh, it's got, stuff to do with swords and, stuff about magical abilities and stuff like that. That should be good. No. I kind of think when watching something like this, if you want to watch something like this, please watch it and then, switch your brain off. If you don't switch your brain off, if you have any ounce of, normal knowledge or ability, you will just absolutely despise this no matter what you're into. Just, oh, Lord. This is probably the worst of the season, by the way. And we spent a couple of minutes bashing Endride a little bit ago. This is worse than Endride. And I completed this one. Oh, dear Lord.
But the blue-haired girl's kind of cute looking.
Well, probably the only good thing about the entire show, mate. and that's only very minor.
All right. Well, yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate to hear.
But don't worry. The next one is great, which is the continuation of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and this one is Diamond is Unbreakable. It's absolutely hilarious. It's very, very particular, so I don't think, bizarre is in the title. Some people aren't going to like this just because of its kind of concept, but it's just so strange and very, very silly, but at the same time, it's done so well. And a lot of times when you go, if you ever read reviews of the first seasons and this one, you'll see that everyone just highly praises it, and I don't think I could sing enough praises about how good it is. It's going to be 39 episodes this, so it's going to run over next season as well and go into the winter season. But I think that's more the better in my opinion. When you've got good concepts, good characters, something that's really, really funny, make as much as possible.
JoJo's got a really strong loyal fan base to it.
It's very, 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 very loyal, and to be fair to them, I completely understand because it is one of the best. I think up there is one of the best this season for sure, easily. Hands down.
I know it is definitely one of the highest rated. It might even be the highest rated this season. I can't remember. ReZero. No, ReZero is past it.
Just a bit higher, but
yeah.
If you watch it from the start, obviously don't start on this one. Watch it from the start, but all really good.
Yeah. Someday I might get to watching JoJo, but not quite yet. I know I have a lot of materials for it though. If I end up loving it, so
yeah, it's very particular. I think as well. I think you'll know after the first couple of episodes of the first season whether you're gonna like it or not.